Hello, Beth. I am responding to your paper 2 in this video about teacher salary controversy crisis. Okay. Teacher salary has been a focus of debate for a long time. There is a controversial issue with teacher salaries in the field of education because of the differing viewpoints and statistics that circulate. I chose to dissect and explore the topic of teacher pay in education because I've always been curious if teachers get what they think they deserve and about the factors that go into teacher salaries. I think I chose a good topic to look into because one day I want to join the field of education. I would like to know more about the aspects of this controversy. I will analyze the controversial issue of teacher salaries, look at opinions on what people think of raising teacher salaries, explain how teachers' values create and prevent controversy, and explore who has the power in the field of education, how the power is used. Okay, so introductions are really hard. So I always want to go easy with people in their introductions. But I feel like, we'll just see where it ends up. But I feel like you've told us stuff there that we didn't, you kind of just repeated yourself and you haven't really brought us into what you're about to talk about. It has been a focus of debate for a long time. There are different viewpoints and statistics, but that's the case for everything. Why you chose it is fine. That's a fine thing to include. You want to know more about the aspects of this controversy? Yeah, you've got to go back through your introduction and cut out words that don't add anything to what you're trying to say. And the good news is, when you do your revision, I don't care about the word count. So, because I really want you to have a chance to go through and practice cutting absolutely everything you don't need. Because that can help make your writing a lot stronger. Okay, let's get into this though. Starting off by analyzing, I found that there are many things to consider about a teacher's salary. Teacher salaries depend on where a teacher lives and how long he or she has been teaching. This is why most countries use a standardized compensation system that determines the salary level based on teaching experience and the highest level of education a teacher has. Yep. Akiba and other authors state, quote, each country needs to make a policy decision on how much to invest in teacher salary, considering the potential amount of returns for improved teacher effectiveness and student achievement. Another thing to analyze. Okay. So after your quote, rather than right away moving on to and another thing, you pretty much always need to have at least a sentence in there that kind of restates what this person, Akiba, right, or however we say it, just said. So in this case, maybe something like, okay, the quote was, each country needs to make a policy decision on how much to invest in teacher salary, considering the potential amount of returns for improved teacher effectiveness. So maybe something that just sort of reflects back on that. You say something that connects the idea of countries having different, countries making different policy decisions, how that connects back to that you're going to be talking about specifically the United States, which I think is what you're going to do. Anyway, that's just an idea about how to comment on the quote before you move on. Okay, so moving on, though, now. Another thing to analyze is the controversial viewpoints from different people on what the average teacher salary should be. Some have the belief that the salary teachers make should be raised, and others believe that the pay should be left alone because of the various benefits teachers already get. Whoa, I mean, you could say a lot about that. So some think it should be raised, others think it should be left alone. Like that paragraph then, you said to start off with that this paragraph is going to be about things to consider. Okay, and it started off being about that. Where you live, how long you've been teaching, that they use these systems to figure it out, that different countries have to consider the return on how much they pay teachers. But this last part, I guess maybe the last part you're talking about is like public opinion. That's not what you said, but I can imagine that maybe is what you were thinking about. And that's a legitimate thing to put in there. but that needs to be more clear. Public opinion, right? Because it's not really about what exactly they think, but about the fact that public opinion has an effect on public policy, right? These rules we end up with. Okay. There are common misconceptions teaching is underpaid. There are common opinions that teaching is an underpaid profession in the field of education. Some people see raising teacher pay as a way to attract better teachers and improve educational outcomes. Yes. Samantha Cleaver is a former education teacher, a special education teacher that has taught everything from kindergarten to 8th grade. She also has her PhD. So I'm just saying that you have a lot of places you said Cleaver. The only one you probably need is the very last one. But just in general, the way that you need to mention the author in your writing, the way that you need to mention Samantha Cleaver is just enough so that we as readers can look back at your works cited, which I'll do right now. There's Cleaver, and I can click on that and see where you got it, and maybe, look for some other things I'm curious about, what might be in that piece. Okay. Samantha Cleaver is a former, she has a PhD. She explains how Cleaver mentions in her study that higher pay for teachers means students have the ability to do better. In the study, a 10% increase in teacher pay was estimated to produce a 5 to 10% increase in student performance. Okay, so I don't think that's suggesting they have the ability to do better, because I'm not quite sure what that means. But students sometimes just do better. What is it, like increase in student performance? I don't know what that means, but they probably have. You need to go through explaining what they mean by that. Another study by Matthew Hendricks suggests that higher salaries are likely to retain the most able and best teachers, and those teachers are more likely to improve over time. Some teachers with a lower salary consider the job to be temporary, whereas those with stable salary are more satisfied. A stable salary? You mean a higher salary, I think? Are more satisfied with their job because they feel financially secure. Or maybe teachers who start with just a higher salary in general, as opposed to, you can clear that up. Okay. Their success, okay. Teachers will not feel the need to hold outside jobs or have to if they are successful. Teachers will not feel the need. I would say teachers may not feel the need. I mean, we can't say they will not, right? Because it's just such a big world with lots of different people and situations, but they may not feel the need to hold outside jobs if they are successful. They're successful by being content in their financial situations, having job satisfaction, and the ability to focus on their teaching. Okay, I see where you're going with that. So, going back to where's this idea of success? I'm not sure I don't feel like you're really talking about success here. I feel like they are maybe effective because they're content in their financial situation, and they are more likely to stay in the job. Maybe that's what you mean. Okay, another reason some think increasing the teacher pay would be beneficial is because it would strengthen the pipeline. When teacher pay is an issue, fewer people want to become educators. Okay, so you mean the pipeline of new teachers coming through colleges, I guess. Okay. When teacher pay is an issue, fewer people want to become educators. 76% of participants in the time poll said that they would not go into the field of education because it does not pay enough. There's always a need for teachers. Whoa, wait, what? Okay, so before I go into that, this paragraph starts with teaching is underpaid. And then within this paragraph, if we raise pay, we'll get better teachers. If we raise pay, kids will do better. Students will do better. If we raise pay, we'll retain more effective teachers. If we raise pay, teachers will not feel like they need to have other jobs, and so then they'll feel like they're doing better, or that was the part I was needing you to clarify. Then we need to raise salaries because it would get more people to want to become teachers. Okay. And then you really shift into a whole different thing. There's always a need for teachers, right? Well, no, you don't. There's always a need for teachers. Few graduates will look to fill the increase in demand for teachers. People who are increasing teacher salaries believe that will strengthen the future workforce. Okay, I'm just trying to untangle. So I think what you need to do for this paragraph is kind of list out the different things that you're talking about. And I also think it would probably help you to separate this into more than one paragraph. Excuse me, sorry. Because you've got so much in here, I feel like it's all just kind of rushing past your reader, and we're not like kind of settling into kind of a more clear progression of like each of your points. Okay, there's always a need for teachers. Graduates will look to fill. Yeah, I feel like when you get into there's always a need for teachers, you don't want to next say, excuse me, there is always a need for teachers. You want to say something like, and we really need people to go into the field, right? Like kind of put the emphasis there. All right, people who are for increasing teacher salaries believe that it will strengthen the future workforce. Another thing in your list. Cleaver also believes it will keep teachers in the classroom. Another thing in your list. Also, a pay increase may mean fewer teachers working second jobs. You already talked about that, so we need to straighten that out. Cleaver and others that argue why teacher pay should be increased are passionate about what they think teachers deserve. Oh, that's a fine way to wrap it up. But I would also say, coming back to this word, deserve. You haven't talked about what teachers deserve in that paragraph at all. And you don't need to talk about that. What you have talked about is reasons why people think it might be effective and beneficial to society to have teachers be paid more. So yeah, it gets tricky when you get into that whole idea of what people deserve, right? I mean, that's just a lot of value judgments, and maybe you'll get into that in this next section. We'll see. But you haven't talked about what they deserve. You have talked about some really solid arguments about why it might, whether they deserve it or not, like just set that aside, why it might be useful for them to be paid more. Good for all of us. Okay, on the other hand, some individuals have objected opinion on teacher salary. Some think that teacher salary is fine where it is at and there's no need for salary raises. I read an article by Jason Somebody, for example. He believes putting the best teachers in the classroom requires more than raising teacher pay. Okay, so it's not that he thinks it's fine. Sorry, we may need to start a new video. Not yet, okay. It's not that he thinks it's fine. He thinks that it's like necessary but not sufficient, as they say in math more often. It's something you have to have, but actually we need more, which isn't quite what you were telling us would be in this paragraph. Okay, in fact, it might just drive down teacher quality. Oh, okay. I'm wrong. Ignore me. Okay, here's what he says. These people have shown that higher pay without reforms could actually lower teacher quality. The argument starts with the observation that increasing pay reduces the number of job openings. Are you kidding me? Sorry. I shouldn't bring my own. But, I can't help bringing my own opinions to this. This is my field. That's just a very strange argument to make. I mean, you're fine to discuss this person. I'm just thinking for myself, like, what a strange argument to make. Like, inner city schools and rural schools have been just desperately need more teachers for a long time. And the idea that if we raise all their salaries, like, oh, then people will take all those jobs. I'm like, I don't think so. Okay, well, let's start a new video. We're almost out of time with this one.